I am Nate WL777 and this is Character Piece. Today we'll be reviewing an anime by the name of Goblin Slayer. It was originally released in 2018. It's 12 episodes long in the first season. I didn't get complete confirmation if there would be a second or not. This is considered an action-adventure anime. This anime focuses around the life of a young adventurer who has vowed to wipe out and completely eradicate the world of goblins. Goblins attacked his village when he was young, killed a lot of people that he cared about, and so he focuses on this revenge and vows to completely eradicate them, who most of the world does not look at as big of a threat as he does. During the course of the adventure, he comes across other adventurers to join his mission and help him along his way. The storyline here is actually, it's a serviceable storyline. It doesn't bring anything really new or groundbreaking. It's kind of a lot of the same tropes that you would find in a lot of animes. It's done in a sort of D&D style characters as they form together and form groups and go hunt. They call themselves adventurers. Like I said, it doesn't bring anything new to that, but what it does do is that it does do the how each teammate works together and how each teammate kind of comes together and serves a purpose for being there, and it does that a lot better than I think a lot of other animes. A lot of other animes, you basically have a main character, somebody doing something during a fight or during a battle, and everybody else is just kind of standing around watching, and then boom, it's their turn. This one does a really good job of getting them to come together. It's some of the dialogue itself is okay. Some of it was really boring, and I think there was actually quite a bit of that, especially when you got towards the end of it. There was definitely some boring dialogue that you didn't really care if it was there or not. I would say that there were moments in this where it was done really well, and then there was moments where I just felt like it wasn't. The moments that were done really well were especially during action sequences. The action in this is, fortunately, they knew what they were going for, and they actually included quite a bit of action, because that is definitely the strongest suit in story-wise, and as you'll see in pretty much everything. The characters themselves are pretty bland. Really, the only person that's fleshed out very well is the main character, and just his personality itself is actually a little bland. They dive a little bit into character development, but left a lot to be desired. This is not one of those things that are going to focus on those relationships and emotions. This is really an action adventure, stereotypical action adventure anime. Some of the characters were a little corny and kind of took me out of it. I felt like this did a whole lot of, some of the story worked, some of the story didn't. Some of the characters worked, some of the characters didn't. Some of the dialogue worked, some of the dialogue didn't. It just felt like it wasn't completely strong in a lot of those areas. The voiceover work it was also another one of those things that was a little bit corny. Some of the voiceovers worked. I don't think anything was really terrible, but there wasn't any that was really all that great either. Again, I don't think that was the strong suit here in this anime, and I don't think that was what they were going for. I think they definitely knew what they were shooting for and focused on just those things. The art itself, again, I don't think anything was awful as far as the art was concerned. It was above average, that's for sure. But there were a couple of things that the action sequences worked extremely well. The art looks really, really good when they're fighting. It does. And as I've mentioned, fortunately, they knew what they were doing, and they included that a lot in the anime, which was very beneficial. It was a good decision because I think that a lot of other points were a little weak. That was definitely the strongest point of it, and the art looked great while it was happening. The design of the characters were okay. Again, some of them worked for me, some of them didn't. I would say that's just like a theme throughout this. The world building itself was a little dull. Could have been a lot more detailed. Could have been a lot more imaginative. I felt like it was, again, just a paint by numbers kind of anime. Oh, here's a castle. Draw it with some stone. There's a little walkway. Just things that you've seen a million times. In that sense, I think that was a little weak. The negatives, again, just ups and downs at everything. They like I said, everything was really just a little bit of good, a little bit of bad. Again, fortunately, the strongest point in this on every level was definitely the fight scenes and the action scenes. I love the way that they brought the characters together in those. I think this is just one of those things that just, it had a lot of flaws in it. I think that more things worked well than didn't, but just by a little bit. This is definitely not one for kids. I would not let my kids watch this. This is TVMA all the way. Lots of nudity, cleavage, sexual things, very, very adult stuff. Some of it took me out of it, actually, is another negative. I think a lot of it was a little unnecessary. They were just throwing it in there. I don't mind this being an anime so much, especially if it fits into the story and it adds to the story, but I feel like too many times in anime they just throw it in there to get people to watch. This is a tactic when you don't have strong characters or a strong story. That's just my opinion, but it does take me out of it a lot of times. I felt like that was the case in this one, but yeah, definitely not something I would let my kids watch. As far as my favorite character is the Goblin Slayer. He is really, honestly, the only character that's fleshed out well enough to care about. The other ones are okay. I think that they borderline flesh them out a little bit. They've got a little character to them, but just I don't remember a lot even about them, and I just finished watching it, so if that tells you much. I don't know that he was extremely fleshed out well, the main character, but he is definitely the one that I was attached to just by default the most. Not the strongest suit in this anime. Again, I just want to express that if you like action and you like fight scenes and you like the art involved in that and the way that it looks while it's happening, you'll probably really like this anime. I'm going to go ahead and rate this. I'm going to give it an 8.4. I actually probably, like I said, it benefited from the fact that it knew what it was. I think that there's a lot of things in this that they didn't do well that I would normally probably bring an anime down a little bit, but ultimately what they did focus on with those fight scenes and the action was well enough to drive me through it. The story was okay, and it definitely gave me a lot to, I got through this pretty good, surprisingly, again, just because they knew what they were doing and threw so many different action scenes in it. There are some episodes where you don't really get a lot of action, and that's okay. While those were a little bit dull, my mind did wander a little bit during those parts. They didn't leave you too many times between episodes where there wasn't something building up and some kind of fight going on. Again, they knew what they were doing with it. Left out a lot of things that could have been better, but an 8.4 I think here is pretty good. I would recommend it for somebody. It was worth watching for sure. I enjoyed it. It was more fun than it was serious. If you watch some of my other animes, you know that I kind of lean a little more towards serious than fun. But ultimately, for what it is, I did enjoy it. And I would say that they do it a little better than most people that fall into those categories of like that D&D style, get groups together and try to form those character bonds and how they kind of play with each other. That works very well in this one. So. There's no link for me to share because this one was watched on Funimation. I just subscribed to them, so that way that I can mix in some of newer animes as well. I've been going off of some old animes that I have written down on a list, and I will continue to do those, but I wanted to mix in this as well as some of the Netflix ones I'm going to be doing as well. So there will be no link to this, but if you are a subscriber to Funimation, they do have this on Funimation. I'm going to start doing some of those as well. So if you like what you heard, if you got any information out of this that you felt was useful, if you disagree with me, hit a like, hit a subscribe, get in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Did I rate this too high? Did I rate this too low? Is there other characters that you care about more than just the main character, and I'm missing that? Discuss it below. Let me know what you think.